with your hosts, Andrew Romanella.
The first problem is with the owner of the Carolina Panthers, okay? You're an idiot. Seriously, you're an idiot. I don't think I'm good enough in this spot based on my own personal mental health, so I can't continue. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Rome Show in the Morning on 12ozsports.com. Broadcast live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. I am Andrew Romanella. We are here every morning at 7 a.m., and we thank you for joining us. Please get in on the action at The Rome Show 1 on Instagram and Twitter, and at Coach_Romo24 on Instagram and Twitter. You can also hit the 12OZ Sports guys up on any and all of their social media platforms. We got a great show for you today, and I told you, ladies and gentlemen, that we would start with baseball today because there's a lot of news in Major League Baseball. A little coming out of Baltimore and a little coming out of Oakland, and that is where we get our Straight Off the Rome today. All right, so here's the deal, okay? The Baltimore Orioles have been essentially the bottom dweller in the Atlantic East for the last, 6 to 8 years. Well, last year, the Baltimore Orioles, and it was a few years coming, because there was a lot of really good drafts and a lot of really good moves and decisions made by the organization from a player personnel standpoint. Well, last year, the Orioles, what some people would call arrived early, right? Which is a statement that I absolutely hate, but it's a statement that is used a lot, right? It's like, oh, this team's young, they're probably going to be pretty good in the future, and then they win in a year when people didn't expect them to. Kind of like the Giants last year with Brian Daboll, right? Make the postseason, win round one game, and everyone's like, this is great. We didn't think this was going to happen. This happened early. Whatever, all right? And you see it across sports, all right? A young team, the New York Yankees, the year that Joe Girardi got fired. What was that, 2017, right? That was the young Yankees, right? That was the baby Yankees. That was the new version of the Yankees, Aaron Judge included. And it's like, oh, they arrived early. And it's like, or they're just a really good team. And they got better a whole lot faster than people thought they were going to. And usually when that happens, you have the signs of a team that should be good for years to come. And as you've seen with the Yankees, yes, I know it is not translated into championships. And I understand that for the Yankees fan, that is not okay. Okay. The Yankees are championship or bust. That's why they have 27 of them. But unfortunately, I think what the Yankees forget sometimes, or maybe the Yankees fan that matter forgets sometimes, is it was a whole lot easier to win and dominate certain markets, whether that be the draft market, the international market, the free agent market, right? In the 70s, 80s, 90s, right? Once free agency started to become bigger and bigger and bigger and more opportunities for free agency happened, it was a whole lot easier then to go ahead and dominate other teams, especially from a financial standpoint, and the Yankees had that. One of my favorite examples is UCLA basketball, and John Wooden will say it. He's like, I don't think we would have won as much now as then because there weren't as many teams, right? UCLA is the team on the national television. So, yeah, if you're a top-level recruit, you're pretty much eliminating most of your recruiting process to those 4 or 5, right? So, at a time period when the Yankees are coming off of 19 championships, 20 championships, and you get into the Derek Jeter era, right? You know, it's a whole lot easier to buy into the Yankees. Also, it's a lot easier for their management to win some of those players with the money that they had. Now, you have revenue sharing, and there's different stops to make it so that there's some type of parity in the league. And on top of that, the guy that was reckless abandonment spending that money is no longer here running the Yankees. Then on top of that, media has changed. So the coverage of the team changes, and there's a lot of quote unquote pressure associated with playing with the Yankees. And then all of a sudden, in the last 20 years, you've seen a major shift in dynamic, right? Last championship was 2009. So it's now 15 years since the Yankees have been that prominent team. I mean, that's a lifetime for a lot of people, right? There are 14, 13, 12-year-olds out there that don't see the Yankees as this dominant team in the AL East. Actually, over that same period of time, the Boston Red Sox have won more championships. So why then, Andrew, did you start by talking about the Orioles? Well, that's because the Baltimore Orioles, like I said earlier, were like the bottom dweller of that AL East for the last 5, 6, 7 years. And some big things have gone on, starting with changes in the way that they're drafting, getting better talent, acquiring talent at the minor league system, building up their single A, double A, triple A minor league teams to make sure that they're building long-term sustainability at the major league level. But they, much like their Washington football team Commanders counterpart, had an ownership issue. The Angelos family owned the team, and they weren't that good. Not a lot of people in Baltimore were fans of them. Felt more like a Mets situation with the Wilpons than a Mets situation with Steve Cohen, if we understand what that means. Essentially, owner that every fan hates to owner that we are unbelievably going to love for two reasons. They have money, but also they're not that guy, right? And so the Baltimore Orioles have been sold for roughly $1.75 billion. Yes, that is right. $1.75 billion. Imagine just being able to grab your buddy, right? Because it was bought by two private equity billionaires. This dude, David Rubenstein and Mike Arougheti. All right. And, you know, they're not the only two, okay? Some reports I'm reading is that actually Cal Ripken Jr., right? Baltimore Oriole Hall of Famer, the Iron Man, dude, played the most games in a row in Major League Baseball history. You'll never, ever, ever, ever in any sport, I don't think, see that streak broken. The 2,000-some games that Cal Ripken played in a row. And then on top of that, former basketball player Grant Hill, Duke Blue Devil guy, he's getting in on the ownership action in an investor group. And then some other names that were thrown out there were actually the former mayor of the city of New York, Michael Bloomberg. I thought that was funny because is it like, when he was the mayor of New York, not a lot of New Yorkers liked him. So he's like, you know what? I'm going to go own a team in the AL East and really stick it to the Yankees fans. I have no idea. But the bottom line is the Orioles have new ownership and the AL East better watch out. All right, because yeah, there's some really good young talent in Toronto. Don't really trust that organization. And winning for me, winning comes down to the trust in your organization, right? Like we can have great players, but if our organization doesn't put the right people around us or set this thing up for success, it don't matter, right? So there are some organizations where I'm going to look at them and I'm going to be like, it doesn't really matter sometimes what you do for the players with the players, who's on your roster, because upper management or this leadership group or that leadership group, they're not good enough, right? Like the Jets, that's exactly how I feel about the New York Jets. Like no matter what happens, the Jets are going to jet, right? That's why I call them the New York Jetropolitans, because they have such a Mets circa 2021 feel, right? Like, no matter what we do, we just can't find a way to break through. We might break through for a year or two, i.e. the Mark Sanchez 2009, 2010 AFC Championship runs that are revered in New York Jet football allure because there's nothing else to be excited about over the last 55, 60 years. And by the way, before I get jumped by any Jets fans out there, same for the Miami Dolphins, same for the New York Metropolitans, okay? So I completely understand. I'm not crushing you. I'm just giving you an example of teams that I just don't believe, regardless of players on their roster, will win because of organizational history and malpractice, really. Like an organization that consistently gets it wrong, okay? So that point brings me to this. I don't believe Toronto, with their talents, necessarily going to be a contender, or if they are, it's momentary. Whereas the Boston Red Sox and the New York Yankees have proven, even with bad years under their belt. Now, the Red Sox, not as bad as the Yankees. I mean, the Yankees not as bad as the Red Sox. At least the Yankees are winning 90 games a year and making the postseason, whereas like Red Sox bad years are like the highest roller coaster you've ever ridden on, and then the lowest part of that same roller coaster. It's wild, but it produced 3 championships in the last 15, 20 years, and that's like, all right, well, coming off of a drought of not winning a championship for a really freaking long time, and then you start winning championships. I mean, there's people in Boston Red Sox lifetime, right, in their lifetime, where the Boston Red Sox have actually won multiple championships, whereas there was a generation of people whose lifetime never saw the Boston Red Sox win a championship, right? So if I'm a Red Sox fan, the last 30 years, I take 10 out of 10 times. I take it as a Mets fan 100 out of 100 times. As a Dolphins fan, 1,000 out of 1,000 times, without a doubt in my mind. Whereas the Yankees are more sustainable success, but the championships really aren't showing up, and it's not really happening for them there. And then you have that team called the Orioles, right? And the Orioles, like I said, has been a team that, for the most part, now they had Buck Showalter for a while, and they were making some good runs, but just not making it to the World Series, not really competing for World Series, not winning World Series, right? They're like, even with the Tampa Bay Rays in the AL East, right, who play in the worst baseball stadium in literally the league, you would put the Tampa Bay Rays over the Orioles for a long time. Well, last year the Orioles went out and won 101 games. That's right. And they won the AL East. Now, you might say to yourself out there, okay, Andrew, well, that's just a fluke. And what does that have to do with new ownership? Well, here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen. The Baltimore Orioles now have people in their corner up top that are actually committed to making this a great organization, okay? We talked about the Washington Commanders yesterday, their counterpoint down there in Maryland, and the fact of the matter is, when you get new ownership and there's a lot of positive inside the organization, like the Commanders, number 2 overall pick, most caps chasing the NFL right now, you look at that and you say, and also you're in a great area, great fan area. You have all of those things added up, and you get the worst thing out of there, which was the owner, which is the leader, the top of the food chain. That's huge. Well, the Orioles are now going through that exact same thing. And so I think the next 5, 10, 15 years for the Orioles looks off the charts, because not only are they now getting new ownership, and now, hey, these guys could be as bad as any bad owner we've seen in our lifetime. We have no idea. But we can only give them a chance and feel more positive than what was going on. But on top of that, each of the last 3 years, 2021, 2022, 2023, the Baltimore Orioles have had the number 1 prospect in Major League Baseball. And we saw Audrey Rutschman come to head this year. Gunnar Henderson and Jackson Holliday are waiting in the wings, okay? Jackson Holliday, son of Matt Holliday. Look out for his brother coming up as well. And they have one of the top farm systems each of the last 3 years in Major League Baseball. And that's as ranked by, Baseball America or ESPN, whatever. Bottom line is, they have really good prospects in the minor league system. And now they have players at the major league level that are proven to be good enough to play a 162-game schedule, win 100 games. Like, that's really hard. Win 100 games. Not just win the AL East, okay, but win 100 games, okay? And now they have the support up top that they need with already the minor league system. And the bottom line is, before we go to commercial break, if you want to win in Major League Baseball, there's no secret sauce, okay? You can try and throw as much money at as a problem as you want. It won't work. It might work for a moment. But look at the A-Rod situation with the Yankees. I mean, how much money did they give him? They won 1 championship, okay? But if you want to win in professional baseball, you better draft well, okay? You better make the right trades at the major league level that brings back minor league prospects that pan out, okay? That's the only formula. You can talk about money or billionaires or whatever the case is, okay? Look at the Mets right now. So what? We have Steve Cohen. So what? Richest owner in Major League Baseball. So what? What's it matter? What's the offseason been for the New York Mets this year? The offseason has been nothing. Nada. Nilch. The Mets are going to roll out the same crap that they rolled out in 2023 in 2024. So to me, it does not matter if the owner's a billionaire. The money don't matter. It's about the system. And that's why already the Baltimore Orioles are ahead of so many teams in Major League Baseball because they won at the Major League level last year. Now they've made the appropriate management changes up and down the line in their front office and have the future behind them set appropriately. That's what people forget. And by the way, injuries, Tommy John, the fact that baseball is the hardest game you're going to play, and year to year, sometimes, a lot of times, you don't get the same player. That's why the elite are the elite, because they hit 300 15 straight years at a 145 game a year clip is super hard. It's a below 5% person thing to do. So you need the reinforcements, you know? So the Orioles, I think I might say this now, and you know what? I'll hit the button, but I think over the next 10 years, okay? I'm not saying they're going to win the most championships, okay? I have no clue, but from 2024 to 2034, I think the Baltimore Orioles are going to win the most AL East pennants. I don't know if that'll translate this World Series. That's a whole nother ball game. We got plenty of time to talk about that. But I think just the way it looks right now, sustainability, franchise, excitement, all that jazz, Baltimore Orioles right to the top. Ooh, hot take. Not a hot take that you should be watching the Rome Show every single morning, 7 a.m. on 12OZ Sports. Broadcast live on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. I am Andrew Romanella. We will be back with Around the Wide World, some daily data, and a little bit more after this commercial break.
It's the Rome Show! Yeah.
Welcome to MyBookie. You're ready to create an account and start making money, and we're here to help. And remember, you can get a bonus of up to $1,000 on your first deposit. Now you're ready to bet. Just go to mybookie.ag, visit the sportsbook, click on your bet, and input the amount you want to risk or win in the bet slip. Yes, it's that easy. Just remember, at MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid.
That's right. That's right. Welcome back into the Rome Show here on 12OZSports.com. Broadcast live on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Get us on all of those same social media platforms at The Rome Show 1 or at Coach_Romo24. This is a good time for me to tell you two different things. Maybe it's three, maybe it's four. I have no idea. Just need you to listen. Behind me, it says wideworldshop.com. Okay. Wideworldshop.com is the sponsor of the Rome Show podcast. We have some hoodies there. I was going to say some good hoodies. We do have some hoodies that say the word good. Wore it on yesterday's show. Got the Be Electric collection, the You Got This collection. If you purchase one of or anything at wideworldshop.com, 12OZ Sports will enter you into the Snowfest giveaway, okay? So what I went out and did this morning was I made a promo code for wideworldshop.com, and the promo code's simple. It's Rome Show. That's it, Rome Show, ROME Show. That will give you 10% off of your purchase, and I just wanted to thank the 12-ounce sports listeners, the Romo Sapiens out there that support the show. And also the fact that Wide World Shop helps support the pod. You know, we have opportunities to get new microphones and to get these cool sounder boards and cameras and all this other stuff because people head to wideworldshop.com and they support the show. So I really do appreciate you. And also on top of that, you can enter the Snowfest contest. And then if you go to wideworldshop.com, which I know you're going to do, and you're going to purchase something because you want to support the show, which I love you for. Well, then if you are wearing your Be Electric hoodie and you're like, man, I really want to wear this outside to a concert, you're going to go to tickets.12ozsports.com and you're going to use the promo code ROME. Bam, we're making your life easy, ROME, and you're going to get a discount off of those tickets as well as also be entered into the contest. And then if you have your Be Electric hoodie on and your tickets for your concert and you're like, you know what? I know I'm at a concert right now, but my boys are at a Knicks game. I want to put in a wager, grab some bananas, okay? Well, then you're going to go to mybookie.net, and you're going to use the promo code 12OZ Sports. You'll get upwards of $1,000 in your first wager, okay? And then if you do make that first wager on mybookie.net with the promo code 12OZ Sports, then go ahead and send an email to 12ozsports@gmail.com or send us a DM on any of the social medias, and you can enter Snowfest that way. So it'll be an electric evening with your Be Electric hoodie on, the tickets to whatever concert or play you chose to go to from tickets.12ozsports.com. And then while you're there, because you have mybookie.net, you can make the wagers with what your boys are doing over at the Knicks game. So it's electric stuff. wideworldshop.com, 12ozsports.com. All right, let's stop messing around. All right, we're done messing around. It's time, okay? It's time for us to get into the next segment. Oh, that's not the next segment button. All right, well, the next segment's Around the Wide World. I don't know. We can't find the button. I think I deleted it.
Number.
Nah. All right, let's go around the wide world. Here we go. All right, so we're staying in baseball because I don't know if a lot of people realize this story is going on. On the podcast, before we got picked up by 12OZ Sports a few weeks ago, we talked about this a little bit. So the Oakland Athletics, for those that don't know, play in the worst Major League Baseball stadium in the history of time. Like, there's no exaggeration there. There's no, actually, I could probably take it a step further and say the Oakland Athletics play in the worst stadium of all time. Like, not just specified to baseball stadium, but legitimate stadium of all time. And so this has been a conversation for like 5 to 10 years, it feels like now. What are we doing with the Athletics? Are they staying at the Coliseum? Are they not? Especially once you saw the Raiders move to Las Vegas, you really started to see the ball roll downhill. Like, are we really going to keep another professional team at this crap stadium? It's the exact same reason why Al Davis just moved the Raiders out of Oakland. So that really kicked it downhill, and supposedly the move was going to be the Oakland Athletics were moving to Las Vegas. Well, there's been some holdup there, okay? And a lot has changed, and there's been some issues, okay? Taxpayer dollars and TV deals and other things, okay? Currently, the A's hold a contract with Comcast Bay Area that will pay $70 million. And if they break that contract, there'll be some serious problems. So that contract, I think, runs for another year or two. I'm not completely sure on those details. But, at the end of the day, that's money that the Athletics need because they've had the lowest payroll in Major League Baseball, bottom 5 lowest payroll in Major League Baseball for each of the last 10 years. And then on top of that, I did some research on it. Did you know that the highest opening day payroll for the Oakland Athletics was in 2019 at $92.2 million? Like, in comparison in Major League Baseball, like teams that are under $100 million on their payroll, it's gonna be very difficult to be competitive. Like, I mean, I know I just talked about money not being a factor, but it's not necessarily just about the free agents either, about those dollars. You know, it's about retaining the players that you draft. It's about, getting really good free agents. It's the whole package of money, man. And the Athletics have been good in some years. You know, Moneyball's a thing, but they've won nothing. You know, they've been relevant in some years, but they've pretty much won nothing. So right now, there's a real crossroads for the Athletics. So here are the possibilities, okay? They could go to Sacramento, play in a minor league stadium. Or, and this is an interesting one, Salt Lake City, Utah. There's the group there that we had mentioned about the hockey team that they have some interest. They own a minor league team out there already. And they believe Utah is a professional sports town, as noted by the Utah Jazz, who do, according to some reports that I read, have a good sellout amount. So a number with which they sell out per year, where I think that really does draw to ownership groups, because no, you don't want to purchase a team knowing with 162 games, 81 at home, that you're barely ever going to sell out your building. So according to what it looks like in Utah, they believe they could support, I mean, probably not football, but the other two major sports in baseball and hockey. So very, very interesting. And then to finish the conversation about the A's, there is still a possibility of them going to Vegas, but it would be closer to 2028, stadiums, all this other BS that has to go on. So it is wild what's going on in Oakland. What's probably going to happen is they're probably going to play in a way smaller stadium that a pro team shouldn't be playing in once they're done with the Coliseum. And it's kind of going to be embarrassing if this doesn't get figured out. So I'm curious to see what happens. If I had it my way, I would love to see the A's in Vegas. I think what's happening with Vegas in hockey and in football, I hope it's proving that is just a great, great sports town. We move on. The Seahawks have hired Ravens defensive coordinator, Mike McDaniel. Okay. He is the youngest now head coach in the National Football League at 36 years old, okay? The Seahawks signed McDaniel to a 6-year deal, so they must really believe in what's going on or what he's going to bring to the table, kind of like the Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch situation that we had with the 49ers a few years ago. While he was in Baltimore, he was the defensive coordinator for 2 years. And here's what his defense did in 2 years. Over that 2-year span, the Ravens have given up the second fewest points per game at 17.5 and the 6th fewest yards in the National Football League at 312.8. In a microscope, the 2023 Baltimore Ravens finished first in points per game allowed at 16.5, first in sacks at 60, and tied for first at 31 in turnovers. So super impressive stuff from McDonald. Excuse me, I said Mike McDaniel, didn't I? The Dolphins head coach. I don't know why that just registered. Mike McDonald. Sorry, Mike. You deserve way more respect than that. Me messing up your name right there. Mike McDonald. Like McDonald's, like Mike McDonald. He is the guy for the Seahawks moving forward. Something interesting to note there. You know what that means? What people believe as the greatest coach of all time, Bill Belichick, is still on the table. So you could see Bill Belichick, what people believe is the greatest coach of all time, get passed up by 7 different teams to be their head coach. Don't you find that interesting? If he's the greatest coach of all time, Why wouldn't somebody automatically hire him? Well, probably because the last 3 or 4 years without Tom Brady have seriously tainted how people feel about Bill Belichick. We have a lot of time to get into football as we move forward. To finish off this Around the Wide World, Caitlin Clark, we talked about her the other day. Caitlin Clark has become the second most points scorer all time, if that's an English statement, in NCAA women's basketball. That's right. Congratulations to Caitlin Clark. She moves into second all-time on the points list with 3,424. Caitlin Clark is 103 points away from the number one slot, which is 3,527. And if I was a betting man, I would say Caitlin Clark gets that in the month of February. I would even say that Caitlin Clark gets that in 3 or less games. I'm going to set the line at 2.5 basketball games is the line for Caitlin Clark to get the points she needs to be number one all-time in NCAA Division I women's basketball. Congratulations to Caitlin Clark. And to finish up this Around the Wide World, I don't know if anyone knew this, but the NBA has a new rule in place. Players must play 65 games and 18 minutes per game in those 65 to be eligible for MVP, All-NBA, All-Defense, Defensive Player of the Year, or Most Improved Player. I freaking love it. I love it, National Basketball Association. And what you're going to start to see over the next month and a half of this season, ladies and gentlemen, is people that are coming close to that line. And decisions are going to have to be made. And whoever was lying about injury reports, if they were lying about injury reports to give rest days for these guys so these rules wouldn't affect them, they might be screwed. I have no idea. Maybe people don't care. Maybe like, I don't care about the MVP. But at the end of the day, I love that the NBA is putting those rules in place so this rest thing can finally come to an end. And we finished today with your daily data. Did you know that right now, the NBA's number one selling jersey is Stephen Curry? That is right. Stephen Curry is the number one selling jersey in the National Basketball Association. Number two is Jason Tatum. The one that I found very interesting on that list was number 12, LaMelo Ball. Very surprising to me. Like other people on that list, Giannis, Luka, Damian Lillard, all of those people, they made sense on the list, right? But the one that did not make sense was LaMelo Ball. But you know what? There was so much publicity with LaMelo Ball leading up to his entry into the National Basketball Association that it doesn't surprise me that is one of the 12 jerseys. So here's how I wanted to end today for the ladies and the gentlemen. Damian Lillard returned home to Portland, and he got an unbelievable standing ovation when they announced his name. And I thought it was really cool to hear the fans have that much love for Dame Lillard. So here's Dame Lillard getting announced in the Portland game. Full standing up. Not one person sitting down. "35 seconds in, still cheering, still standing." And so well-deserved for Damian Lillard, by the way. And now his Bucks teammates join in on the celly. Still standing. And I just felt like that was a really cool way to end the show because honestly, I'm not going to lie to you, Damian Lillard over the last 5 years may have become my favorite player in the National Basketball Association. What he does for the community, how he operates, silent assassin, one of the best shooters in the game. I just love watching him play, and I really do hope that he can win a championship in his career because I believe he is one of the best players in the league, not just in this time period, but he's top 25, I think, all time, especially when you look back and all is said and done, especially as a shooter. And from what I understand, an even better person. So shout out to Dame Lillard and shout out to Portland for that awesome return home. This has been the Rome Show here. 12-ounce sports. 12-ounce sports, YouTube TV, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. When I read and talk sometimes, all of the words just gel together, and sometimes it's just bad. My team witnesses this all the time. So I'll cut myself off. We'll see you tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Get us on the social media.